Hello and welcome to the talk about planning, deployment, maintenance and operations of SAP S for HANA. My name is Sören Schmidt and I'm a sub-solution architect working at the SAP Linux lab in St. Leon Road. So what can you expect the next 30 minutes? I give an overview about the talk. Then an overview about what is S for HANA. And then I go from planning to operation and give you some advice, some tips. And my last slide will contain a few things what is different when running SAP software compared to other, and things that might come as a surprise because it's not that usual. First of all, this is a talk from the operating system level, so I will not tell any details of S4HANA. I will not go into the product itself or giving tips how to migrate towards it. So please keep in mind, for me here, S4HANA is like a black box software from the view of a normal administrator. With that said, I can make this very simplified view of S4HANA. Some guys amongst you may wince if they hear that, but from that point of view, S4HANA is just an SAP application server like SAP NetWeaver. Inside, of course, it's quite different, but from the outside, from the operating system, it's basically the same. If you make a PS and list and check all the processes you can see, you will see no difference there. What's also special in S4HANA is that you have to use SAP HANA 2 as a database, so this combination is fixed. That also means if you are running HANA, S4HANA or even NetWeaver, all of you can have some benefits about the talk, because everything what I'm going to say is not only valid for S4HANA, but also for NetWeaver and also for HANA, even for HANA 1.0, not special 2.0. When you are going to set up an SAP system, you will get in contact with an SAP consultant to help you there. But here are a few sources of information that can be interesting. First of all, SAP is keeping a very detailed database about its products. It's the product availability matrix. And the important part here, which I want to emphasize, is that there you can find the supported operating systems for the product. So if you go there, looking up S4HANA, you can see which operating system, so which SLES version you can use or you have to use. If it comes to HANA, the second link becomes interesting, because a specialty of HANA certification is it's not only the operating system, but also the hardware gets certified. So if you look up the hardware directory, so you can find the combination SAP HANA version, operating system version, and hardware version. The word hardware directory is a little bit misleading because it comes from the past. So if you go to the page, you can see on the top there various buttons. I have a screenshot here on my slide, and on the right side you can see the supported hardware, so Intel systems, power systems, on the left side the appliances. But SAP software can also run on virtualized machines or clouds, so this is also there in the hardware directory. For instance, if you go to certified IaaS platforms, then you will see the list of all the public cloud vendors. So see the word hardware in a broader scope. You cannot talk about SAP systems without mentioning SAP nodes, and there are quite a lot of them. So I could fill an entire slide deck with a daunting list of numbers and of nodes. So I just picked only one, because this is considered the planning phase, or the first step into the SAP world. So you can you can look up the SAP node 2369910. SAP software and Linux general information, and it contains quite a list of additional nodes, which also will link you to additional nodes. And before you see, you have quite a list of SAP nodes which might be important for you. It'll take a while to get used to that amount. SAP software usually contains very valuable information about your company, so naturally you want to have it available 24/7. So if we're talking about 24/7, high availability is something you should take into consideration. We, SUSE, ship HA solutions for the SAP application server, then also S/4HANA, and for the HANA database for quite some time. If you go to our documentation page and select SLES for SAP application as a product, go to the service pack, and then you will have a page with the links to the various guides, and there's a section called best practices. And this section contains all the available documents to how to set up the HA solution, which is available and but not, depends a little bit on the product. I have a rather talk in more detail about that on my next slide. But last sentence here, if you are interested in to set up an HA system, there are our experts here from the Linux lab who built these HA solutions are on the SUSECON online, and they have a talk TUT1226. So if you want to need to know, then please visit that talk. Operating system. You can choose between pure SLES and a SLES for SAP applications. What's the difference? SLES for SAP is a SLES, same code base, so same kernel, same software, which additional value on top of it. This additional value is, for instance, in a longer life cycle. So you need, or you have more time to upgrade to the next service pack than with SLES. We also ship additional tuning software for SLES, for SAP. I will talk about that later. And the third important difference between SLES and SLES for SAP is how to handle HA. So if you want to use one of our HA solutions and you have SLES, you have to buy an additional product called HA extensions, which includes the pacemaker cluster. This product is already included in SLES for SAP applications. So there you have everything you need to have HA. So with SLES and the HA extensions, you can run an application server, S/4HANA, high available. If it comes to a HANA database, you need SLES for SAP applications, because only with that product we ship the resource agents necessary for that. So HA with an application server, S/4HANA, standard SLES plus HA extensions, or of course SLES for SAP applications. And if you want to run a HANA database high available, you have to use SLES for SAP applications. These are just a few benefits or differences. If you want to know more about what's behind SLES for SAP applications, we have a talk about that here as well, FUT 1439. Please visit it. Any software has naturally an end of life. So our service packs or our SLES releases as well. Please check out the SUSECON lifecycle page regularly. I have a screenshot here from this SLES for SAP applications part, and we have May 2020, and if I look up, I can see that Service Pack 1 is going to be out of support in a few days. So if you're still running SP1, hurry up. If I would have here, or if you look at the table for a pure SLES for SAP, you will see pure SLES, you will see that Service Pack 4 is going out of support in June. You see there's quite a difference. That was what I meant. We have a longer life cycle with SLES for SAP applications. If you are going to upgrade to a new service pack or even going to a new release, so from 12 to 15, please not only check with SAP, also check with your infrastructure vendor. It's possible that the hardware you use might be not supported for newer service packs. With HANA, it's easier because the hardware directory already contains the information HANA version, SLES version, and hardware. But with an application server at S/4HANA, you have to check for yourself that the hardware is supported by the operating system. And please update your system regularly. I mean normal patches. That's because if you are open a support ticket with us and your software, especially the kernel or glibc, so the basic core packages, are older than, let's say, half a year, you will be asked to do an update first, because it's impossible to maintain all patches for all the systems. So please, very important, keep your system up to date. Of course, we know that SAP systems are important. You want to reduce the downtimes as far as possible, but at least once a year it should be possible to do updates. The software, operating system, sub-software has to get to the infrastructure in anyway, so there are also different methods. Old news is that we have the installation wizard in SLES for SAP, which is possible, which has the ability to trigger the installation of the SAP software. Not quite sure if this is widely known because it's a manual step. I think most of you know AutoJust for automated deployments. And we also have started a new deployment project, which is based on Salt and Terraform. This started once a year ago, if I remember correctly, and was a project which we started together with Azure to deploy an SAP HANA or NetWeaver and also S/4HANA on Azure, even with high availability. At the moment, the current status is that it's not only possible to deploy it on Azure, but also on AWS and KVM, and the project is going on. So if this is something where you say, hey, sounds interesting, I want to know more about it, one of our developers involved in this project is having a talk at SUSECON online. It's the talk TUT 1092, so please look it up. I guess I think it's very interesting for you if you like or if you are interested in deployment. Configuration. The famous subnodes. If you look up an SAP node in a launchpad, please have a look on the top left corner beside the SAP logo. There you can see what it is actually. So there is not only an SAP node, but it's also something called a knowledge base article or a knowledge base search. What's the difference? The SAP node is written by the development teams at SAP or the partners. So even we, as SUSE, have some important OS-related SAP nodes. A knowledge base article is written by the SAP supporter. So, and is naturally, therefore, a little bit like our TIDs, it's focused on a specific customer case. So it is quite possible that a knowledge base article does not even apply to you. SAP notes in general are much more broader and written, as said, by the development team. So they have a more, let's say, global view in mind. And also because this is sometimes a discussion, if you look closer to an SAP note, you see the words recommendations or suggestions. So an SAP note is not written in stone. It's quite possible that not all of it applies in your environment. So don't shut down your mind. It's what it is. It's a recommendation. I've listed here a few subnodes which are important from the OS view. There are the installation nodes for SLES 12 and SLES 15, and especially if it comes to HANA, the recommended OS settings, which are maintained by some colleagues from SAP at the Linux Lab. So just important nodes there. I mentioned early on the operating system page slide that we ship different tuning or configuration software, the SLES and SLES for SAP. The pure SLES has a very simple tool called SUSECON. As I said, simple means it just does the needful. We have handpicked in the Linux Lab specific parameters from various subnodes, which we know that if not set correctly, you will most certainly run into trouble. So SUSECON does not implement full subnodes, just only the necessary. You can consider it more like a simple on and off switch, tuning on, tuning off. Of course, you can disable or change the values of the various parameters, but you cannot add any new parameters to SUSECON. That's not possible. Yes, if you look at the SLES 12 system, you will see that SUSECON is shipping various profiles, so SAP HANA, SAP NetWeaver, SAP ASE, SAP BobJ. But we are going back to the simplicity, so if you check out SLES 15, you will see there's only one profile left called SUSECON. And even if you go back to SLES 12 and you compare SAP NetWeaver and SAP HANA, you will see both profiles are identical. So back to simplicity. With SLES for SAP, you have also SAP Tune, now in the version 2. We have did the major jump from 1 to 2 last year in June. This is a much more advanced tool. You can here activate or disable entire subnodes, but with that you also have to know which subnodes you need. So we made that a little bit easier, and we also have so-called solutions. So if you, let's say, want to run S4HANA, you can type in subtune apply solution S4HANA, and then in the background a few necessary pre-selected SAP nodes will be applied on your system. One benefit of subtune is that you have the possibility to check the current settings. So there's a verify option where you can see which parameter on which subnode expects which system value and if this is set correctly or not. Also, it is highly configurable. That not only means that you can, of course, disable or change any parameter, but you can also have own, let's call it own subnodes. This is something our partners had wished, but it's also available for customers, of course. So if you want to use Subtune, let's say, as a central configuration tool for your SAP systems, you can also have own nodes where you can introduce even new parameters. that are not mentioned in any subnode before. And Subtune will develop further. We have quite a list of possible enhancements, so if you have any ideas, if you want something specific, please contact us so that we can reprioritize that. Just a few examples which we are planning next is developing a scripting interface. This to get much more flexible. That is something what has been asked for various times. Then we will also enhance the interface and the output. So we need a machine readable output to make it much easier to get it into combined with configuration management tools. And of course, we will try to make it more cloud and HA aware so that specialties of various clouds on the HA scenario is reflected, and said many more. So keep an eye on that tool. Hopefully the most useless slide I have here, because these are the golden rules you will all know and you all follow. Please keep everything up to date to have the latest patches to avoid problems. Most customers have a monitor solution already in place, something like Nagios, or that what SAP is offering you. So general advice is always monitor your logs and check out the system health. We have started a new project for monitoring based on Prometheus in Grafana. Comes from the cloud world. It was part of the deployment project I mentioned earlier. And this project, or this software, allows you to have detailed information about the operating system, the SAP software, and the cluster in one shiny, nice, free configurable dashboard. So if you want to know more about that, we have a talk here at SUSECON, CAS 108080, which is exactly about this project, what's possible at the moment, where we are going to, or maybe how even you can contribute. So please check that out. Also, for support cases, collect SAR data, though you should have the sysdat package installed and the service activated. If you are running subconf and subtune, that's already done by both tools. Also important for possible support cases, please check out your logs. If they contain enough information, or if you have, if they are not outdated, because some software tends to be very verbose. So the logs can grow rapidly in size, and we have in the background a log rotation in the operating system, and which rotates the log fixed size, and also keeps only a few rotated logs. So it's quite possible that if there is an issue and a few days later or a week later the supporter asks you, can I get the logs from an older date, and you have to say, oops, rotated out. I only have logs for 3 days, and then they're lost. So maybe it's even a good idea to back up the log files so you have access to it in case they're needed in a support case. And of course, also, you do backups. I don't have to remind you to do so, and you always check if a backup works and also if the restore is still possible. If there is an incident, I would recommend please open an SAP incident and not an SR. Why? With an SAP incident, it is very easy to collaborate with SAP and the hardware partner, because hardware partners and the operating system vendors have supporters in the SAP space. So it's very easy to handle a case there. This is not only a good idea if you running an SAP software, but also if you have our HA solution there with SAP together. If you are running our HA solution with SAP. Because if it comes to our component, the supporter there are not only trained or specially trained for SAP software, but they are also know the HA solution very well. If you open a normal SR, it can happen that you end up with a supporter that has never heard of SAP and maybe even give you a wrong advice regarding HA, not because he doesn't know it, the software, but he's not aware of the special settings and the special requirements for running SAP on HA. So please open in incident. It is much easier. And one is really enough. I know that it can happen that you open SR because maybe you think, okay, it's completely SUSE related, and then you have an SAP incident and somehow you figure out, okay, they are related. Please tell in both tickets that you have a ticket on the other side. So if it comes, for instance, to our component, the supporter in the SAP incident can contact the SUSE supporter on the SR and they can work together. Never ever open several incidents or SRs to speed things up. Yes, we have seen it in the past, and I can assure you it never ever speeds anything up. It gets only complicated and it takes longer. Also, if you open such a case, please provide a meaningful description. My HANA has crashed, please help is not meaningful. Also add what has been changed prior to the incident. That can be a change of workload, it can be a software update, it can even something you might not be aware of it because another department has done something like an upgrade on a SAN switch or a network switch. So try to get this information and provide them that helps solving the incident. Please add times to the note. When happened what? Most important, when was the incident and when have you started to get the system under control? Of course, it's natural then if you have an incident that your administrators try to get the system back online. But this will have additional log entries. So it's important it's good for the support engineer to know when you started the recovery tries, so that he knows, okay, these entries are coming from a specific step in the recovery process and not from the original incident. And to don't have another cycle, please add the support config, and if you have HA, also the HB report, you will be asked for that. So my last slide, something what is a bit different when having an SAP software compared to maybe other software. First, the HANA database lifecycle manager reads and changes the CDL.conf. So even if you might have set up your system by a configuration tool like subconf or subtune for a HANA database, the HDBL LCM will check the file, and if it's not there, add it. That's something we have to live with. You can see the table, so which parameters those are, and which values are expected and set. You can see in the HANA setup guide, there's a small table about that. Also, the SAP host agent in newer versions will change some system settings. I have two examples here, the local port range and the local reserved ports. So on start, the host agent will not change the configuration file, but write it directly to the proc file system. So don't be surprised that the values are different if you are tuning that with other configuration tools. You can configure and disable both of them in the sub host agent profile, though that's possible, but at least I want to mention it. Some customers are surprised and puzzled why the value has changed. Also, we have various systemd issues, which mostly are a bit fixed now. For instance, that on shutdown, that large databases get killed. It has something to do with fixed timeout of user SLES for systemd, and the main reason for this is that sub init is still a system 5 init script. SAP is working on that, so you can expect in the future that SAP init or the entire substat framework is systemd aware. I can give you any times, but I expect we have to wait for a few months before we can see something. And my last thing is about swapping. It's also a topic on support cases very often. In general, swapping is nothing bad necessarily. Yes, it can become an issue with SAP workload. If this is the case, we have several solutions for that. Some tuning is set by subconf and subtune. That's the dirty pages, for instance, and especially if page cache grows. In SLES 12 we have also a feature called page cache limit, which protects against a certain kind of memory pressure. This has been removed in SLES 15 and replaced with a more advanced, more flexible solution called workload memory protection. The WMP basically works that we put all the SAP instance processes into a dedicated C group, and then we can set a C group parameter, in this case memory low, which protects the memory from any kind of memory pressure outside that C group. So not only a growing page cache, but also a misbehaving software with eats up memory is protected against. And with mentioning C group, this is, for now we have only a memory protection there, but it's possible to enhance this to other C group features as well. So I have finished my talk. That's all. I thank you very much for listening, and I hope you could get something out of that talk.